was one thing that, you know, another person I know whose opinion I respect very much, I asked them, you know, what's next? What comes next? What would you want to hear from me? And they said to me, you know, I want to hear you give me more of the story. Like, you know, I know great things about you that other people don't know, whether it's, you know, with family, with women. Just give me more of your story. Get more personal.
More personal.
More personal, yeah. And I think I pushed it to its max on this record. I don't know if there is another step to take after this. I think I'm going to figure out what's next for me, but there is another evolution for Drake after this, you know, definitely. I don't know if I don't think it's going further. I think I'm going to make whatever adjustment I end up making. You know, I always like to grow. I always like to grow at every record, but I always like to sort of change direction a bit. So with this, it's a lot more, you know, it's a lot more aggressive, it's a lot more confident, and the reflections, I think, are a lot clearer, they're a lot more accurate. So I'm telling stories with details that maybe, you know, I was so caught up while I was making Take Care, maybe I didn't remember these little small details that make you really able to relate to the song.
Let me ask you about the details. In fact, you've said a lot that I want to come back to, the aggression, the evolution. But in terms of the details, you've said at one point that you'd work on lyrics for one song at a time on this record for 3 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
What's happening in those 3 weeks? What are you working on?
Sometimes I'm working and sometimes I'm just waiting. I write about my life. I don't write stories. A lot of classic rap is storytelling, but it's storytelling about someone else. Fictional stories sometimes. I can't do that. I have to write about my life. So sometimes in order to complete a verse the way I want to, or to finish a second verse on a song when I've already done the first one, I have to allow myself to either live a portion of life that I haven't lived yet, or something has to set in, you know, when it does take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Sometimes it's taking longer than that. I mean, I have a song that I still can't figure out the hook for it because, you know,
And why do you keep it in the bullpen? I mean, there's that famous cliche, I think Elton John, but a few people have said it, where my best songs I've written in 10 minutes. You know?
A lot of my hit songs I've written in a very short period of time. You know, Hold On, We're Going Home, I felt like we finished that in like 2 hours. And some other...
So why do you keep the faith in a song that you've been working on for weeks?
I'm not a guy that does 40 songs for a project and picks 13 of them. If I'm going to go as far as to track over a beat, I usually have the utmost faith in it that it'll end up somewhere. I don't really dispose of too many songs. I have stuff that didn't make this album, definitely, but I don't have 20 or 30 of them. You know, I have 4 or 5 records that just didn't make it because, again, I was trying to keep it concise, and whatever I end up doing with those, I'll do with them. But
there's a fluidity on this record, a continuation of your style, of what you do between the rapping and the singing.
Mm-hmm.
And many people have made the case that didn't really exist in the norm, at least at a major level, before you. Has that become the norm for you?
I think that with this particular album, what I tried to do was find the perfect balance between rapping and melody. I love melody. I sing. That's what I do. I've been very open about that, you know. I caught a lot of scrutiny on the last record because there were distinct singing moments. There were borderline ballad moments. And I realized that, as important as that was for that period of time for me, you know, I love that music, I love that album, and it was important for me to make. What I tried to do with this album was blur the lines so that even when I am singing, it just doesn't feel like singing. And even when I'm rapping, the cadences are almost melodic to the point that they stick in your head. And I remember I brought this older gentleman in to recut a baseball sample for me on the beginning of Connect. And he said he was listening to the song, and he's like, so what are you going to call this? I was like, the song? And he's like, no, this genre of music that you're creating. And I was like, oh man, That's really kind of you to say, but I mean, it did open my eyes to the fact that, you know, I was able to sort of make it gray, which I
You're not afraid of melody.
Not at all.
You're not afraid of sweet melodies. Is anything too sugary for you? I mean, is there a point where you go, well, a lot of artists would go, I can't do that. That's just too sweet a melody.
I do shy away from major chords and major chord progressions. Those are the classic, like, you know, pop. Those aren't the melodies that hit you in your heart.
Yeah,
you know, for me, it's minor. For me, it's 40 producers in minor, and I'll find the melodies to sort of slip around it. You know, is anything too sugary? It just has to have emotion behind it. You know, Hold On, We're Going Home at the end of the day is a very I mean, that is a major song. You know, but there's emotion there. You know, there's points where you really you feel something, and that's all that matters to me. You know, as long as it penetrates.
There's interesting juxtapositions on this record, because you've talked about this album being about feeling good about where you're at.
Right.
And yet the music doesn't always feel uniformly celebratory. It can feel pretty downbeat.
Right.
Tell me about that discrepancy.
Well, there's a victorious sentiment behind it. You know, I think the most important thing to understand about this record is the sentiment. You know, I'm 26, working as hard as I possibly can with my friends that I grew up with, making my family happy. You know, I'm so sick of people saying that I'm like lonely and emotional, and like associating me with this like longing for a woman or maybe. Yeah, I hate that, man. It bothers me so much, because I don't make, you know, like I do make music that makes you feel something, but you know, I just don't, like, I'm actually not that guy in real life. I'm very happy, you know. I'm not content by any means. I mean, I want to keep working, but I'm a happy person, you know. I'm very excited. My life is constantly exciting. It's not some sad, depressing story. So as far as the soundscapes go, that's just the music that I choose to make, man. I make my music strictly for the purpose of like driving at nighttime. You know, that's what I make my music.
What about the aggressive thing? You said this is a more aggressive record. Some people talk about the confrontational lyrics. Even the record starts off with Tuscan Leather. It's a pretty hard, old school rap song. You know, there's a superficial reading of the confrontational part of this record that says, this guy's doing so well. Just what you described, but even more, the material success, the #1 record, all that. What's he got to be confrontational and aggressive about?
That's just kind of the nature of rap and hip-hop music. People have to understand that, you know, it's a very unique genre in that regard. That
confrontation is inherent in the art form?
I believe so, yeah. Competition is inherent in the art form. Confrontation just kind of comes with the territory, and there's something to be said for the fact that, you know, a lot of people talk that talk and you know, just do it because that's what hip-hop is about. Well, I'm going to talk, and I'm going to talk like I'm the biggest dog, but I'm not. I'm actually the one guy, the young guy that can really step up to the plate and talk my game, and I check out. You know, if you choose to go research, I check out. So that was one thing that I understood on this record. Like, you know, I'm not going to play this humble, you know, sort of shy, like new guy, like happy to be here role this time around. You know, I put in enough work, and I plan to put in as much as I need to moving forward. And I want to make that known. You know, I'm here.
Let me come back to that in terms of the being clear and honest about where you want to go and what you are. But just in the part about the aggression being part of rap, it's interesting, right? Because to a certain extent, forgive the pun, it gets a bad rap. But why is this music so aggressive? And yet, the metaphor, it works. I mean, you wouldn't think of hard rock music as, it wouldn't be a surprise that it needs to be aggressive to work, right? Both in terms of the way it's presented and in terms of the lyrical content. So there's still an education that has to happen around hip-hop and rap, would you say?
I think that there's something to be said for the fact that everybody wants to be the guy with the juice. Everybody wants to be the best. And because we're doing a form of music where it's complete self-expression, a lot of it has to do with talking about yourself. Whereas there's other genres where it's like, you know,